At 11:30 a.m. on the 25th of November 2020, in Tigre, a city in the Buenos Aires province of Argentina, Diego Armando Maradona was found unresponsive at his home. The death of the football legend plunged the entire world of football into mourning. Tens of thousands of people gathered in Buenos Aires to pay their respects and bid farewell to their idol. But what were Maradona's final hours like? The truth will leave you heartbroken. The fragile health of a legend. In his later years, Maradona faced numerous health challenges, including heart problems, liver damage, obesity, and the stress that took a toll on his mental health. However, these issues had their roots in his playing days, a career that took him to some of the biggest clubs in football history. His journey began at Argentinos Juniors, where, as a teenager, Maradona's natural ability quickly shone through. At just 15, he made his debut for the senior team, and his dazzling dribbling skills earned him the nickname El Pibe de Oro for the first time. He would go on to score some stunning goals that would foreshadow the brilliance of his later career. His exceptional talent paved the way to Boca Juniors, one of Argentina's biggest clubs, where Maradona's passion for the game was on full display. However, it was also at Boca where Maradona's relationship with the media and his temper began to stir controversy. His fiery personality, combined with the pressure of being Argentina's most prominent young footballer, led to occasional clashes with the club and its fans. Nevertheless, Maradona rose above these challenges to lead them to the Argentine Primera Division title, marking his first major domestic triumph. After his time in Argentina, Maradona made the high-profile move to Barcelona in 1982 for a then-record transfer fee of €6.9 million. His arrival in Spain was met with great expectations, but his time at the club was marred by injuries, a strained relationship with the board, and frequent on-field battles with opponents. One of the most notable incidents was the 1984 Copa del Rey final, when Maradona was sent off for kicking out at Athletic Bilbao's Andoni Goicoechea after a brutal tackle. This moment, combined with persistent injuries and conflicts with coach Cesar Luis Menotti, led to Maradona leaving Barcelona after just 2 years. While not a total failure, Maradona's stint at Barcelona is often seen as a period of unfulfilled potential. However, his next chapter would change his life forever when he moved to Napoli in 1984. It was here, in Italy's Serie A, that Maradona truly became a legend. Under his leadership, Napoli won their first ever Serie A title in 1987 and another in 1990, along with the UEFA Cup in 1989. His incredible skill and vision on the pitch, including his famous solo goal against England in the 1986 World Cup, became the stuff of football folklore. However, Napoli's success was not without its challenges. Maradona's off-field problems cast a shadow over his brilliance on the pitch. His growing dependency on drugs, particularly cocaine, became a well-documented struggle. Initially hidden, his drug use escalated during his time in Naples, impacting his health, performance, and personal life. Complicating matters further was his alleged association with the Camorra, the powerful Neapolitan mafia. Maradona's immense popularity and status as a symbol of Naples made him a valuable figure for the local crime syndicate. Reports surfaced of his connections with prominent mobsters, fueling rumors of protection deals and lavish parties financed by illicit money. His volatile relationships with managers and teammates also began to take their toll. Nonetheless, his link to Naples' fight against the northern Italian elite elevated his status as a cultural icon, even as it fueled controversies throughout his time in Italy. By the early 1990s, the cracks were undeniable. In 1991, Maradona tested positive for cocaine, leading to a 15-month ban from football. This scandal marked the beginning of the end for his time at Napoli, overshadowing the unforgettable legacy he had built for the club and its passionate fans. After leaving Napoli in 1992, Maradona had a brief and tumultuous spell with Sevilla in Spain. His time there was marked by clashes with the management and a less-than-ideal relationship with his teammates, eventually leading to his departure after just 1 season. Despite his skills still being evident, the physical toll of years of playing at the highest level began to affect his performance and discipline. Maradona then moved to Newell's Old Boys in Argentina in 1993, where he played for a short period but still showed flashes of brilliance. His time at Newell's was brief and far from the success he had experienced at his previous clubs, but it was a moment where he could reconnect with his roots. However, his time there was cut short by personal issues and a struggle with his fitness. Finally, Maradona returned to Boca Juniors in 1995, where he would finish his career. His second stint at the club was less about achieving trophies and more about redemption and passion. Despite being much older and dealing with ongoing health issues, Maradona's love for Boca and for football was evident. However, his return was not without problems, as his addiction struggles resurfaced and affected his performances. Nevertheless, his connection with the fans remained strong, as he became a symbol of resilience and love for the game. On the international stage, Maradona continued to shine. After the 1986 World Cup, he played in the 1990 and 1994 World Cups, where his influence on the field remained undeniable. While Argentina fell short of repeating their success in '86, Maradona's leadership and vision still inspired his teammates and millions of fans around the world. However, the 1994 World Cup would be his final tournament appearance, marred by a positive drug test that led to his suspension. This marked the end of an era for one of the greatest talents football has ever seen. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, after hanging up his boots, Diego Maradona's health began to deteriorate significantly. Years of excess had left their mark on his body. His struggles with drug addiction during his playing career had transitioned into other issues, including severe obesity and related complications. Maradona's lifestyle, which had often made headlines for its indulgence, began to take a serious toll. In 2004, the world was given a stark reminder of his fragility when he was rushed to the hospital, suffering from severe heart and respiratory problems. At the time, his weight had ballooned to alarming levels, and his long-term cocaine use had compounded the strain on his heart. This hospitalization was one of the first major public signals that the physical toll of his lifestyle had reached a critical point. Determined to address some of these issues, Maradona underwent gastric bypass surgery in 2005, a drastic measure to combat his obesity. The procedure initially seemed successful, helping him lose a significant amount of weight, but his health remained precarious. Over the following years, he was frequently hospitalized, with his cardiovascular system under relentless strain. In the 2010s, Maradona's health issues became increasingly concerning. He struggled with complications from his previous gastric bypass surgery, leading to another operation in 2015 to address related problems. His weight fluctuated, placing additional stress on his heart and lungs. By this time, his history of substance abuse and its lingering effects were evident, as he faced repeated hospitalizations for cardiovascular concerns. In 2019, he was admitted to a hospital for internal bleeding caused by a hernia, a stark reminder of his fragile condition. His battles with addiction, although reportedly under better control, left lasting damage that compounded his medical problems. Maradona's declining health throughout the decade was a sobering reflection of a life lived in extremes, each health scare highlighting how his once mighty resilience was fading. And so begins the tragic last year in the life of the legend. Maradona's final year was marked by escalating health challenges that underscored the toll of his tumultuous lifestyle. In early 2020, as the world battled a global pandemic, Maradona's frailty became increasingly apparent. His public appearances revealed a man visibly struggling, often requiring assistance to walk and appearing disoriented at times. October 30th, 2020, Maradona's 60th birthday, marked a public turning point. He made a brief appearance at a gymnasia match, but looked unsteady and required help to walk. This appearance sparked widespread concern and discussions about his well-being, as fans and the media noted his alarming physical state. Just days later, he was hospitalized for what was initially described as dehydration and fatigue. However, further examinations revealed a subdural hematoma, a blood clot on the brain that required urgent surgery. The procedure was declared a success, and Maradona was discharged to recover at home under medical supervision. Despite the surgery, his overall health remained precarious. Reports suggested he struggled with post-surgical complications, coupled with his ongoing battles with addiction, depression, and the long-term effects of his previous substance abuse. His family and medical team were concerned about his deteriorating condition, yet Maradona insisted on returning to his private residence in Tigre rather than a specialized care facility. Following his release from the Olivos clinic on November 11, 2020, where he had undergone treatment for the subdural hematoma, Maradona moved into a rented house in Tigre, just north of Buenos Aires. The house was equipped for his recovery and had medical personnel on site to monitor him. This period, however, was fraught with concern, as Maradona's condition remained precarious despite assurances from his medical team. Reports from those close to him indicated that Maradona struggled both physically and emotionally during this time. He exhibited signs of depression, loss of appetite, and persistent lethargy, which worried his caregivers. His isolation became increasingly apparent, as Maradona rarely communicated with anyone outside his immediate circle. Some sources described him as withdrawn and despondent, far from the vibrant personality the world had come to know. Questions about the adequacy of his care soon began to emerge. The house in Tigre lacked advanced medical facilities that might have been crucial for someone in his fragile state. Furthermore, despite the presence of a medical team, critics later argued that the monitoring was insufficient and lacked the necessary rigor. Allegations surfaced that the prescribed medications might have exacerbated his condition, further complicating his recovery. Family members and close friends expressed growing concerns during this period, reportedly clashing with Maradona's doctors over his treatment plan. They alleged that he was not receiving the level of care required for someone with his medical history, including his past struggles with substance abuse, obesity, and heart issues. There were also claims that his mental health was overlooked, with some accusing his entourage of prioritizing their own interests over his well-being. The final hours of a legend. On November 24, 2020, those close to Maradona noticed that he seemed quieter than usual, spending much of the day resting. His medical team, which included a nurse and on-site caregivers, monitored him throughout the day but did not report any alarming signs of a critical health decline. Maradona had been struggling with a lack of appetite and persistent fatigue in the days leading up to this, conditions attributed to his ongoing recovery from surgery. Additionally, his mental health appeared to be fragile, as he expressed feelings of sadness and frustration about his restricted mobility and the limitations imposed on his lifestyle. Friends and family members later described him as appearing withdrawn and melancholic. That evening, Maradona had a light dinner, something that had become routine due to his diminished appetite. Afterward, he retired to bed earlier than usual, a decision attributed to his lingering fatigue. His nurse and caregivers remained present throughout the night to ensure he was monitored closely as part of the medical oversight put in place following his recent health scares. The morning of November 25th began uneventfully. At approximately 6:30 a.m., his nurse reportedly checked on him and found him asleep. He appeared to be resting peacefully, and no immediate concerns were raised. Another follow-up at around 8:30 a.m. revealed that he was still sleeping, which was not unusual considering his recent lethargy. However, as the morning progressed, alarm bells began to ring. By late morning, at approximately 11:30 a.m., efforts to wake Maradona were unsuccessful. His nurse entered his room and found him unresponsive, showing no signs of life. Panicked, she called for help, and emergency medical services were contacted immediately. Paramedics arrived within minutes and began frantic resuscitation attempts in a desperate bid to revive the football icon. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with caregivers and emergency responders working tirelessly to save him. Despite prolonged efforts, their attempts proved futile. At 12:50 p.m. local time, Diego Armando Maradona was officially pronounced dead. However, what came after his death uncovered a series of disturbing revelations, shocking allegations, and unanswered questions that would forever alter the way people viewed his final days. The aftermath, investigating Maradona's death. Following Maradona's death, Argentine authorities launched a thorough investigation to determine if there had been any medical negligence in his care. The inquiry began almost immediately, as his passing shocked the world and raised concerns over the circumstances surrounding his final days. Examination of the medical team. Central to the investigation was Dr. Leopoldo Luque, Maradona's personal physician, who had overseen much of his treatment in the weeks following his surgery for a subdural hematoma. Authorities raided Luque's home and clinic just days after Maradona's death, seizing medical records, phones, and computers to examine his involvement more closely. Luque, defending his actions, claimed he had done everything in his power to provide the best care for Maradona and insisted that his death was a result of natural causes. However, the investigation took a dramatic turn when audio messages and text exchanges between Luque and members of his medical team were leaked to the public. These messages raised serious concerns about the quality of care Maradona had received in his final weeks. In some exchanges, there were discussions that seemed to downplay the severity of Maradona's condition or suggested a lack of proper medical attention at crucial moments. One leaked audio message even showed Luque making casual comments about Maradona's health, which only fueled suspicion regarding his true state of well-being during his recovery. The leaks prompted further questions about the intentions behind the medical decisions made for Maradona. Was there a failure to provide proper emergency care when needed? Did Maradona receive the level of attention and supervision required for someone in his fragile condition? The leaked materials sparked widespread debate, not only questioning the professionalism of the medical team, but also whether Maradona's celebrity status had influenced the care he received in his final days. The focus extended beyond Luque to include Maradona's psychiatrist, Agustina Kozachov, and the nurses assigned to monitor him during his recovery at the rented house in Tigre. Allegations included a failure to perform adequate health checks, improper communication about his condition, and the absence of an emergency plan despite Maradona's fragile health. Key findings. An autopsy confirmed that Maradona had died of acute pulmonary edema, a condition related to chronic heart failure. While the autopsy revealed no illegal drugs in his system, traces of prescription medications for anxiety and depression were found. This discovery led to questions about the appropriateness of his medication regimen and whether it had been carefully monitored. A medical board appointed by the Argentine judiciary concluded that Maradona's care had been inadequate, deficient, and reckless. The report indicated that his medical team had failed to act swiftly in the face of warning signs and had not provided adequate facilities or equipment to manage a patient of Maradona's complexity, criminal charges, and public outcry. In 2021, the investigation into Maradona's death reached a pivotal moment when prosecutors charged 7 members of his medical team with simple homicide with eventual intent. This charge suggested that the medical professionals had failed to prevent his death, despite being aware of the risks involved in his condition. Prosecutors argued that Maradona's team had been negligent in their duties, as there were several signs leading up to his death that should have prompted immediate and more intensive medical intervention. Among those charged was Dr. Leopoldo Luque, Maradona's personal physician, whom we mentioned earlier. He faced the most scrutiny for his role in overseeing Maradona's recovery. The charges indicated that the accused were aware of Maradona's deteriorating health, but did not take appropriate action to prevent his untimely death. Prosecutors pointed to the lack of emergency preparedness and the apparent delays in responding to critical moments in Maradona's condition. If convicted, the medical team members could face prison sentences ranging from 8 to 25 years. The gravity of the charges reflected the belief that Maradona's death was not just a result of his own personal struggles, but also the result of systemic failures in his medical care. The trial, which has captivated public attention both in Argentina and internationally, seeks to assign legal responsibility for Maradona's death. It has become a symbol of the quest for accountability, raising critical questions about the quality of healthcare provided to ordinary people, especially those from marginalized communities. The case has sparked widespread debate among the public, medical professionals, and legal experts, with many reflecting on the accessibility and fairness of healthcare in Argentina, as well as the broader social inequalities that may have influenced the care Maradona received in his final days. Public and family reactions. Maradona's family, particularly his daughters, Dalma and Janina, were at the forefront of demanding justice. They publicly accused his medical team of negligence and insisted on full transparency in the investigation. Their grief was compounded by their frustration at what they described as systemic failures in the care their father received. They repeatedly questioned the decisions made by his doctors and the circumstances surrounding his recovery at home, calling for accountability. Fans around the world joined the outcry, their grief intertwined with outrage. In Argentina, Maradona was more than a footballer. He was a cultural icon, a symbol of hope and defiance for millions. This made the perception of betrayal by those entrusted with his care all the more painful. Murals honoring his memory began to appear in cities across the globe, depicting him as a saintly figure or a guardian angel. Vigils were held in neighborhoods and stadiums, where fans gathered to mourn collectively, holding candles, waving flags, and singing chants that once celebrated his triumphs. Protests erupted in Buenos Aires and other parts of Argentina, with people demanding answers not just for Maradona, but also for what they saw as a broader reflection of failings in the country's healthcare system. Some protesters targeted the medical team, while others held signs criticizing government oversight and calling for reforms to prevent similar tragedies. The public outpouring of emotion was a testament to the deep bond Maradona shared with his fans, as well as their collective determination to ensure his death would not be in vain. The world mourns Maradona's death and the global outpouring of grief. Diego Maradona's passing sent shockwaves around the world, leaving a void in the hearts of millions of fans who had admired him, not only for his footballing genius, but for the larger-than-life persona he had cultivated throughout his career. Tributes poured in from all corners of the globe, with fans, athletes, politicians, and celebrities alike expressing their sorrow. The world was united in mourning the loss of one of the greatest athletes in history. In Argentina, Maradona's death was a national tragedy. The country declared 3 days of mourning, and millions of Argentinians took to the streets, holding vigils and paying their respects. Fans gathered outside his childhood home in Villa Fiorito and the iconic La Bombonera Stadium, where Maradona had spent some of his most memorable years. It felt as if an entire nation had lost a part of its soul. People of all ages, from the youngest children to the elderly, wept for their hero, a symbol of national pride who had lifted Argentina to glory on the global stage. In Buenos Aires, the iconic Casa Rosada, the presidential palace, became a focal point for mourners. Thousands of people lined up to view Maradona's coffin as it lay in state, paying tribute to the man who had led Argentina to World Cup glory in 1986. The lines were long and emotions ran high as fans struggled to come to terms with the loss of a figure who had transcended football. Around the world, the reaction was equally overwhelming. From Brazil to Italy, from Mexico to Spain, Maradona's death resonated deeply with fans who had watched him dazzle on the field. The news of his passing was met with shock and disbelief, as it seemed impossible that such an iconic figure could be gone. Football clubs and players from across the globe expressed their condolences, and many observed moments of silence in his honor. Global figures from various fields, including footballers such as Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Pelé, paid their tributes to Maradona. Messi, the heir to Maradona's Argentine throne, expressed his deep sadness, calling the loss a very sad day for all Argentinians. Pelé, who had once shared the stage with Maradona as one of the greatest to ever play the game, praised him as a genius who brought joy to millions. Celebrities from the world of entertainment also mourned the loss. Hollywood stars, musicians, and artists who had admired Maradona's influence beyond the football pitch joined in the global wave of tributes. The outpouring of grief was a testament to Maradona's universal appeal, as people across different cultures and backgrounds remembered him not just as a footballer, but as a symbol of perseverance, passion, and the power of sport to unite people. Even political leaders from around the world recognized Maradona's impact, with many offering condolences and honoring his legacy. In Cuba, where Maradona had maintained a close relationship with Fidel Castro, the government declared a period of mourning. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro hailed Maradona as a hero for Latin America, while in Naples, Italy, where Maradona had transformed the city and its football team, there was an outpouring of grief, with fans leaving flowers and candles outside the Stadio San Paolo, which was later renamed in his honor. The worldwide reaction to Maradona's death underscored the immense cultural and emotional impact he had on people far beyond the football pitch. His passing marked the end of an era in football, and the tributes were a reflection of his unparalleled legacy. But Maradona's death also sparked deep reflection about his complex life. The grief was not just over the loss of a football genius, but also a symbol of the struggles that had defined him off the pitch. Many fans mourned not only for the man who had given them joy with his incredible skills, but also for the tragic figure he had become, battling personal demons, health issues, and controversies in his later years. Maradona's passing was a reminder of the fragility of human life, even for someone who had seemed invincible on the football field. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy as one of the greatest footballers of all time remains forever etched in history, and the world continues to remember and celebrate him. Maradona's immortal legacy. Maradona's legacy transcends the boundaries of football, reaching into the realms of culture, politics, and history. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players ever to grace the pitch, his influence has left an indelible mark on the world, both as a footballing genius and a larger-than-life figure. From his stunning displays at the 1986 World Cup, where his controversial hand goal against England became one of the most talked-about moments in football history, to his legendary goal of the century, Maradona's talent was unparalleled. His mesmerizing dribbles, vision, and audacity on the field set him apart from his peers. For millions of fans, he was not just a player, he was a symbol of hope, a beacon of inspiration, and a source of national pride. But Maradona's impact was not limited to football alone. In Argentina, he became a cultural icon, representing the struggles and aspirations of the common people. His battles with personal demons, including his well-documented struggles with addiction, only added to his mythos, painting him as a tragic hero. Maradona's life was a rollercoaster of highs and lows, but through it all, his connection with his fans remained unshaken. Internationally, his contributions to football elevated him to the status of a global legend. His name is synonymous with brilliance, and his influence has shaped generations of players. Clubs and national teams have paid tribute to him in countless ways, from naming stadiums in his honor to dedicating statues that immortalize his iconic image. Maradona's passing in 2020 left a void in the world of sport, but his legacy endures. His story continues to inspire future generations, not only for his achievements on the field, but for his resilience in the face of adversity. He may be gone, but Maradona's legend lives on, immortalized in the hearts of millions around the world, forever a symbol of footballing greatness. Diego Maradona's life and legacy are a testament to the highs and lows of human existence, brilliant, complex, and unforgettable. From his electrifying performances on the football field to his battles off it, Maradona was a figure who captivated the world and became more than just a player. He was a symbol of passion, talent, and resilience. However, his story is also a stark reminder of the toll fame and excess can take on a person's health. Maradona's struggles with addiction, his ongoing health issues, and his tragic final days reveal the fragility behind the legend. His battles off the pitch, particularly with drugs and physical health, were just as intense as his triumphs on it. Despite the brilliance he displayed in his prime, his later years were marked by challenges that many never fully understood. These health battles, culminating in his untimely death, underscored the complex reality of his life, a life that, while extraordinary, was also burdened with personal struggles. As we remember Maradona, we celebrate not only his unparalleled achievements, his unforgettable 1986 World Cup victory, his iconic moments, and his ability to unite people through the power of sport, but also the human behind the legend. His story serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. His brilliance will continue to inspire future generations of footballers, and his health struggles remind us of the importance of compassion, understanding, and care in the face of fame. Maradona may have left us, but his spirit will live on. His legacy, marked by both the heights of football greatness and the depths of personal challenges, will remain forever etched in the hearts of those who cherished him and the memories of the beautiful game he graced.